Thank you for taking the time to participate in this. This is I Know Great People. I've been doing this series for some time, had a long break between them, and I've got Christopher Ruckman back today, or not here today with us to start this off. And this series is just a thing where I think most of my life I've just been kind of thinking like I kind of get to meet a lot of really cool people doing really different things, and it'd be kind of cool if they all got to know each other. So this is part of that. And then with this relaunch, it's also part of this project I want to do of just telling stories. And that involves us getting things that humans are doing about their day-to-day lives, from mundane things to like really big, exceptional things, just to see that we're kind of all working together this thing. And with the I Know Great People series, it's kind of like the 6 degrees of Bacon. If you've heard of that thing where Kevin Bacon's been in so many films that you can go to like, Kevin, okay, this actor is here in 6 films, you can find a connection to Kevin Bacon. And I think when it comes down to it, we're fewer than 6 degrees from pretty much somebody who's doing every single thing that we can think of doing. And there's probably people who are doing things that you think there's no way I can do that. That is also struggling to do something that you're doing or doing the same thing you're doing. Be like, oh, that person does that thing that's completely impossible. But you find out they're doing this other thing that you're doing, and you can learn from them. You can teach them different things. So I Know Great People is kind of just that, just getting in conversations of people sharing knowledge and information about the things that they do in the day-to-day life. And with that, there's these 8 questions, the questionnaire there. There's going to be links somewhere wherever you're listening to this, where you'll be able to get the other videos in this one and the ones coming and participate in this project. Because the way I want to do it is once you're on this, you can take this system and you can now interview other people, get other people in the conversations, and we just build this up. So I'm just going to kick it over to Christopher here. He can just give us a bit of an intro. So what is your name? We've said that already. The occupation and pastime, that's the subject of this conversation that we're having. And how did we get to know each other?
Hey, my name is Chris Ruckman. I'm a software engineer. I've been out of work for about 4 years. I had a health-related issue that put me out of work for a while. I'm coming from a background that never had involvement in coding, and during my break, I've been taking online courses and stuff to learn new languages, new platforms and stuff. And somewhere along the line, I decided to dabble with what they call vibe coding, where you use AI to help generate code. I'm producing documentation. All the code is almost completely written by AI now. Um, and I have multiple projects, and they all have different front end and back end languages. So I have a React application that has no database, but it has a it's all JSON driven. I have another React project that has a Python backend. I have a, what my flagship application is called Business as Usual. It's a .NET platform. It's running and deployed on AWS. And all this information and stuff and how I'm learning how to do this and almost driven entirely by the AI model. All I tell it is what I want it to do and how I want it done, and it spits out the code for me, and I just plug and play. I can show examples of my projects if you want, or just talk about them.
Yeah, we could probably get that if you have any links or anything too. We'll include that and we'll show some of them here. If there's specific things you can even send them to me and then maybe I'll overlay them. We can do like a screen share. I don't know. Because a screen share, I think it will come on your screen. But with just some of that you're mentioning there, what is a good resource? Like my dad watches a lot of YouTube. And if you watch YouTube now, there's a lot of ads for AI. It's like always like people are using AI
Yeah.
just like Google. Like you got to learn these new things. So just
Yeah.
a few days ago, he came and asked me, like, okay, tell me the difference between AI and just, is it just a thing that's going to come in and be forgotten? Like, so what is just a basic few paragraph explanation of what makes AI different? It's not just like a fad that's going to come in and leave. Like I tried to explain some of it, like large language models is not a new technology, but the computation and ability to actually utilize it now is the first time. I don't know, it's like 50 years old or something, like the general idea of these things, but it's actually being applied in a way due to the technological advancements. So, can you just give us a kind of overview of what makes AI a what is it? It's like technology. It's not just a fad. It's not just an app being added to something. It's not like he asked me like, is AI TikTok? I'm like, no, TikTok uses AI as something to drive the application. So how would you explain it to somebody who just doesn't know what AI is? Like, what makes AI
Right.
different?
So I use Copilot. It comes with Windows now. Just a little icon in your task tray. It's blue and red. And I've been using that. And my friend of mine's like, you don't want to use Copilot. You want to use ChatGPT. So there's all kind of different models out there that you can play with. I just use Copilot because it's readily accessible. I don't have to pay for anything. It's free. But basically, the power behind the AI is take every single web page and article and like Stack Overflow information that you can get and bundle that into a database, basically, that an engine like Copilot can readily access and provide you information quicker than you sitting there on Google all day long researching one question, so you ask AI and it does all the searching and filtering and stuff for you. Um, right now, I would say that AI isn't going to replace all software developers and hopefully not all artists and stuff. So
Yeah.
you do have to have an understanding of how things work. So in my experience recently, I'm juggling different projects with different front ends and back ends, and AI has a tendency to do what is called hallucinations, where it gets confused, produces the wrong results. So I might be in my completely .NET application, and it's starting to feed me React code. So I have to tell it, I'm doing MVC, I'm not using React and all that stuff. But yeah, it's basically just think of it like as Google on steroids. Um, it's able to say, okay, well, this is how this company does their microservices, for example. And here's the steps to take to produce those same or similar results. And yeah, I'm blown away because I'm developing three big applications, and I've only been working on it for a couple months, and I have made like significant strides. So I can see where in the workplace, what used to require like a team of 20 developers might be slimmed down to like five or six. Um, because you speed up your development time so much. And I mean, you don't even have to think about it. You can have Copilot actually look through your repo and produce documentation for your code. You can have it search for bugs. You can have it do anything you want. And it's great and it's scary at the same time because I can foresee in the
Yeah.
next 5 years I won't be able to find a job. I'm looking now. In 5 years, I might not be able to find one. So
Yeah. So with that, I think what is a good resource for people to just find basic information? Because like some of the things that you're mentioning are more like some lingo, like the vibe coding, things like this. Some of the terms. What's a good resource that you found where people are trying to, if people are just trying to learn and get an idea of what are some of the terms and language used in AI?
um,
What's a good place for people to go that you think would find? Like, how do you find this stuff? Because you said you kind
right.
of,
So
but you're already a software
yeah,
engineer, so some of this stuff is already old hat to you.
yeah.
So, but what do you think is a good
So
place to go?
Well, I mean, I didn't research it. I didn't look anything. I didn't Google anything. I just launched Copilot and said, hey, and typed a question. And at first I was like, find me a recipe for XYZ. And, I want to cook this recipe. So show me how to do it. And I just started incrementally like getting more advanced in my prompts.
Yeah.
So you might want to, like, you can take courses on prompt engineering.
Mhm.
You can go on to Udemy. You can probably get YouTube videos and stuff. How to write a significant prompt that returns the results that you're asking for. So
That's one cool thing about this field. Like AI can teach you about AI. Like this isn't like
yeah,
you can't go to a car and have the car teach you about how to make a car. You can't even
right.
go to
Yeah,
like
you can.
yeah. But this one it can
Yeah,
teach you about itself. So
yeah. You can
that's one
probably
of the
ask
interesting.
Copilot how to prompt engineer.
Yeah, they would kind
So,
of teach you in that. So
yeah.
how do we know each other? Like that's an interesting story. Like worked on a project together, and we have a few things we're going to be talking together with
Okay,
the
so
creativity field.
yeah, I met you through Cassie.
Yeah.
I was looking for a dragon sketch.
Yeah.
and I was just wanting it to be like a backdrop for my old web page. And you got that task handed over to you. And
Yeah.
at first you just gave me like an outline sketch. I'm like, wait a minute, I want colors and everything going on. And you're like, well, you could do that. I was like, no, I can't. So you ended up finishing the whole thing for me, and it looked
Yeah.
great. I still have it on
We'll put
my
a link to that project there.
cruckman.com.
Yeah, cruckman.com. We'll put that up there. And even with that, that also is coming to the AI and some of the things we'll be talking with going forward. Definitely we need to get Cassandra on here, wrangle her off once you get some time and put her on this series as well. But with that one, I remember we started doing the drawing, we started developing, we got to a certain point, it was more like a 2D thing. And I was like, oh, let me push and actually do it like without outlines. Because most of my art, like you can see some stuff in the back, is like with outlines and stuff like that. So I decided, let me do it without outline. Let me do like a Chrome type of effect. And then now with things like AI, this is something that we will have a series of conversations with different people talking about AI creativity and art, because now I could take that drawing that I had, and instead of me waiting for a client like Christopher or like a chance to do that and push myself and try to do the Chrome effect and learn and teach myself that, I could have just taken the basic drawing that I did and
Mhm.
put it in and just said, make this into like a Chrome kind of 3D, like relief sculpture type version of it. And this AI, they can do that now. And those are things that we're going to be talking about is like, is that a situation where it's stealing from someone else's thing if it's adding that? But then what if I do that and I take it on Photoshop and instead of doing it just with a Mid Journey or whatever else that I use, what if I just use the paintbrush that's already there in Photoshop and I use the paintbrush? Is that also like some form of like computer generation that takes it away from somebody who used to need to actually know how to do it with hand paint? So these are some of the interesting questions that I think just a few conversations that we've had with the different
Yeah.
projects and things we had in mind, like even just like the food thing you're talking about. I had like this chefing it up thing where I was thinking, you just have this app where you type in, I have garlic, I have wheat flour, I have some onions, I have some leeks, and you type it in there and you say, what can I make with this? And then somebody would come on and make that dish with you, and you'd talk with them, or they. So that kind of thing now, the human isn't there. You can still have a human there, like the same app you use, it can develop there, and then somebody else can meet up and you can make it together in person. So there's ways you can still plug humans into it, and I think that's part of what I think. The next question that we have here is like list 2 to 3 things someone would like about what you do. So what they would like about AI. We'll get into the dislike next, but the like things, I think there's a lot more things people will like out there. I think there's a lot of people talking about the negative aspects of AI being used for your workplace and in projects. So what are the things that 2 or 3 things that you think people would like that are not talked about enough in your estimation
Okay,
about
well,
using AI?
you brought up an interesting point. It's like, how do you know whether AI is using someone else's style, basically? So you can go on, I think it's like photor.com. It's an AI image generator. And you
Mm-hmm.
can pick, I want Studio Ghibli type
Yeah,
anime
that was
drawings,
big
or
for
I
some
want,
time.
you know.
Yeah.
So you can pick you can use some of these to pick styles. Like my coding processes, the AI will tell me this is how this company does it, this is how this company does it, this is what works best, you know. So you can almost ask it for feedback on what you're doing too. So you can say like, oh, I got these leaks and I got this recipe item, and say what can you make, say Martha Stewart style or something. So um so I think you have that fine tuning ability to where, like, if you're like, 5 or 10 years ago, if you wanted to figure out how to draw something Studio Ghibli style, you're going to be sitting there watching a video tutorial and trying to, like, work through it. Where AI, you can say, I want a Studio Ghibli character that has blonde hair, blue eyes, a green shirt and brown trousers, and it'll just make it for you.
Yeah.
But you can probably ask it. I haven't gone this far because I have used AI art generators. I don't know if you could ask it how could I do this from scratch by myself with pen and paper. but I'm sure it could probably walk you through that process. So I've used AI art generators. I've published 3 books, so I have front and back covers for all 3 that I used Photor for to create the images. But I mean, the possibilities are endless. I think the best thing about AI is, I mean, if you could probably tell you how to build a car, you know. So I mean, all it is basically it's got fingers in every single thing on the web. That's
Yeah.
basically the best way to explain
So that's like the utility of it. So that's and but it's still also going to be people who are unplugged. It's still going to be things where humans are going to be able to do that by themselves. So okay, now with 2 to 3 things that people may dislike about it, I think one of them we should address, like you touched on that a bit, where you can go to certain websites or certain applications, certain programs, certain models will have the ability of actually letting you know where it's getting the stuff from. And I think that's something we discussed a bit about personal projects that we want to do, of making sure that it's the database, the content and the material from the database is stuff that the people who have submitted it or the people who have it's copyright free. Like I'm not too big on copyright, I'm not too big on trademarks. I wish
it.
things would just be open source, but I do understand that things aren't that way right now. I understand it's for some people, they would like their stuff to be private. Even for yourself right now, with most of the things, if you're a company running the stuff and you're running with one of these open source ones, it's getting into your entire system. It's running on, it's going through all the aspects of your computer, your all the files in your documents. Like I think people that whole habit of people not really reading the EULAs in when they sign up with things wasn't that big of a deal with most of these other apps. But with the AI kind of things, it actually goes in and starts mining all your material and it's put out there and other people can use that. So that's one of the things I think people would definitely dislike. And I think I understand. I can empathize with that. So if you can address that whole lack of attribution, some of these words are like I write them all the time, but like saying it. But that's one of the things. And also, what other things do you think people mention that, from your experience, you'd also people should understand if you start using this, be ready to be like ill about this or put off by this aspect. Don't expect it to just be like a guardian angel or like on your head knowing everything kind of thing.
Right. Okay, so I got quite a few of the dislikes of AI. So one, there's a huge fear. I mean, probably globally, no, this is going to put everyone out of business. All you're going to do in the future is work on the robots, making robots and programs.
Yeah.
So there's the fear factor of AI. You know, what happens if AI becomes sentient, like in Terminator or something? People have these fears, like, and they're common fears. I think another disadvantage of AI is you can't tell what's authentically somebody's own work. You could probably send me a dragon picture right now that you completely generated from AI, and I wouldn't know whether you did it yourself or not. So, people were making AI videos where they have known characters like, Trump and Biden arguing and cursing at each other. I think I saw like maybe 6 months ago or so. Um, so I mean, and everything looks somewhat realistic. It's kind of like, the old Terminator movies where you could tell, like, this guy isn't a real character or
Yeah.
whatever, a real person or whatever. So you can tell if you're looking at an AI video now, but in 5 years you might not be able to tell the difference, and
And
that
the
could
thing is, could we
become,
tell back then also? Because like think about even going further back. We are kind of oldsters. When you go further back to like the stop motion, old King Kong, where it's like black and white, like
yeah,
that stuff. There was a way to your brain was able to suspend that disbelief and see that. Like you're wondering, is there really? Did they actually find a real monkey when it was all models,
yeah,
all tiny things? Like the jump in AI just in the last 5 years is insane. Like
yeah.
it's crazy.
So I could see a person having a fear of, oh, someone could make an AI movie of me doing something that I didn't do and use it against me or something. And then as far as AI digging into your computer and throwing out data to the world. I know that Copilot will not do that. So if I want Copilot to look at my code base, for example, I have to drag and drop my files into it. for it to analyze that data. Now, is there a model out there that doesn't follow, sound practices? Maybe, ChatGPT might, say, hey, you got files on your computer. I want to share with the world. I don't know. Um, but I think, the strongest disadvantage to AI, in my opinion, is the fear of replacement of human abilities. So in 5 years, are we going to be, out of, utopian, out of work? We don't have to work anymore. We just sit there and live lavish lifestyles. So what's going to happen? You know what I mean?
And I think this leads us to the next two questions, kind of like the one is like, are there any occupations or pastimes you think maybe the opposite of what you do? So on that aspect, what are some of the occupations that you think by their opposite nature of usage of AI that are completely free from, you don't have to worry about AI being affected in those occupations? Because as we've seen, there's many fields where it's like it's already dabbled in there. There's some fields where it might have touched a bit and it's already being shown like, nah, the hallucinations, it's kind of not there. I think one of the ones is like medicine, where it's like they've used it for certain aspects of medicine. I think maybe you can use it for like you know how like small like doctors now, like they used to come to your homes and they had this free time, they could get to know the patients, but then all this bureaucratic stuff came in where like now somebody needs like a secretary, needs like two paralegals and whatnot just to manage the stuff. I think AI
Mm.
can maybe handle some of those kind of things, but when it comes to actually like healing people, you can't have the hallucination. You can't trust hallucination. You
Right.
can't just go back in and correct. So something like
Yeah.
that, maybe. So what are some of the fields that you think are don't have to worry at all about that? Then we'll get to like the misconceptions about
Well, I will say this, like, I don't see like, a plumber or a roofer or drywall hanger or something like that. Like anything that's hands-on physical work, I don't really see that being addressed by AI in the very near future. Who knows, 20 years from now, maybe those things are being done by autonomous robots. Um, but right now, I don't think anyone in that, like, there isn't a robot that's going to fix your car right now. You know what I mean?
AI.
So
Yeah.
anything that requires your hands, I think, even you said medical, doctors have played with robotics and AI to perform surgeries. But I wouldn't want that done to me, So
No.
open heart surgery by an AI, yeah, that's your kidney, that's not your heart, yeah, I think anything physically interactive, I think right now is pretty safe bet. So actually, like with Trump bringing back manufacturing and stuff, you know, I think I think that's where the world is heading right now. Manufacturing jobs, home building, and they actually have a robot right now. It's a 3D printer basically for homes. It just sits there and goes in a circle and prints out concrete walls and stuff. So that's pretty interesting. So, some construction workers are probably not too thrilled with that. But yeah, overall, I think, yeah,
Because there was
hands-on
also
jobs.
there was this kind of fear about like just computers coming in. I'm sure like there was people backing up. I remember like when faxes were coming in, there was there. I listened to this one podcast, No Agenda Show. It's like Adam Curry, who used to be a VJ for MTV, and like John C. Dvorak, and both of them like okay, John C. Dvorak used to work in like tech like magazines and stuff like that. But, Adam Curry was one of the people, I think he might have been the godfather, person who actually started like podcasting, that kind of tech. But he was talking about he used to work at MTV as a VJ when websites were coming up. And he was telling MTV, like, I've gotten all these domain names, like I can get you up a website. And the MTV people were like, we don't need a website. Like we have television, we have the channel, we have all these things. And it's odd for MTV to be that way when MTV's video kill the radio, starting with that kind of thing, where it's like they understood that radio and whatnot was there already, and that worked. And then MTV became big because they took advantage of video, but they couldn't switch to the new technology of like websites and the internet and things like that. They're like, no, we're at the end of history. Like this is the way we're going to be working for the rest of the future. So
Yeah.
with AI, I think that's another thing where there's fears, but we don't know what's going to be. Like back then, you couldn't tell people you can be a web developer. For 10, 15 years, there's going to be people making hundreds of thousands just developing websites. But what we don't know, maybe there's going to be AI developers. Now you're developing special widgets. I'm hoping to get into something like that in the future. But there's jobs that we don't know are going to be coming that are not there because AI hasn't been applied and used like it's here. It's going to be used. It's going to be applied. We got to see what's going to be done with it. So, with the next question, what are the misconceptions about AI that you think are in there? And again, I think that goes to the misconceptions of people thinking it's going to destroy more than it's actually going to create in that sense, or it's going to do more than it actually can. I think that's another one we can touch on. Like, what are the things that you think are overvalued or overinvested, or people are expecting too much out of AI? Is there
Right.
sections that you
So
think are?
yeah, so currently, you have the whole hallucination problem. So you might ask it a question in like in a software development, and you say, I want this to do this, and it produces the wrong stuff, and you don't know what you're doing. Um, that's a big problem. So the hallucination problem is basically you give the AI a prompt, and it produces the wrong results. So the misconception of that would be, I can use AI to do anything perfectly, I guess. That would be a misconception. They can't do everything for you. Like a software engineer, for example, I can't sit there and tell AI, hey, build me a CRM module from scratch, UI, backend, database connections, everything. It'll do it piece by piece. You can feed it enough information to build a piece of it and to keep on going that way.
Mhm.
Um, and then like in my projects, like say and Copilot crashes so much, it's unbelievable. So if I'm sitting there and I have like a basic UI idea, so I want to use certain layout structures, and I want that to be consistent across pages. Say Copilot crashes or I start a new conversation with it to continue that work, every single page is going to look drastically different if I just follow AI because it forgot, you know, what I was doing. So another misconception is you can't have a true conversation with AI because it doesn't hold on to your conversation as well as you think it would.
That's a big one. But kind of those two things in my my weird way of looking at things. Like I remember, I don't know if you used to play Madden at all, like the NFL. I used to play that, and I used to get sometimes really pissed off, like when you get your character to a place and then jump, and then they would just drop the ball, or like the DB wouldn't make the tackle, and you'd be like,
Right.
what's going on? Like the coach should work. But then I also played, so I actually thought, like, how many times are you out there and you're running and then you just miss a tackle or something? You had a bad day and then like you flubbed, you drop a ball. Like that's actually it actually makes the game more human that there were these like glitches where like occasionally like the game wouldn't do you're in the right position. You should make the play, but for whatever reason, you don't. That happens in real life. So, in my kind of take with like AI, the hallucinations and the lack of remembering things makes it actually more human than anything.
Yeah.
It's actually like robots and computers that actually remember all this stuff. But then, like you said, it's a even just the whole use of AI versus large language model. It's like it's not intelligent yet. It's not like remembering what you're saying. So you have to understand how to interface with it, how to interact with it. Like you wouldn't expect, like people see, okay, I've opened a browser, I've searched something, it has my history, but people don't understand you have to go back and click that history before it's brought up in the computer. Nobody really expects you to just type in on Google search. Remember that page you last opened? Can you start with that again? Nobody expects that. But when it comes to AI, they all of a sudden think like it's going to remember everything it's dealt with you. So
Right.
what's how does that partition from it being able to learn to teach itself the way you're interacting with it? What makes the difference between that and the ones where it's like zero, where every time you deal with it, it's separate? Isn't there like some system where it,
Um, it is capable of keeping track of your conversation more or less. It doesn't keep an exact replica of the conversation. It mimics the conversation as you progress. So what you have to do is reinforce your conversation. So you can't just start, hey, yesterday we were doing this, and you don't tell it that. Oh, okay. So you jump in today and say, build me a web page that has this, this, and this, and it's going to move away from what you were doing yesterday. But you have to go back and reinforce it. Say, yesterday we were building a web page that had three categories of products or whatever, and they were displayed in this way. I want to make another page just like it, kind of same look and feel, but it's going to be for services that we provide. So the same exact look and feel, you can get that, but you have to. It's almost like telling a kid how to do something. Over and over. You have to tell them step one, step two, step three. You have to feed it that kind of information.
Okay, so we're back in here. Next question, we're talking about the misconceptions. So with this one, I think when we're talking specifically with projects and workplace, there's people who are thinking, I got some certain projects I want to work on, specifically creating AI that's specific for whatever you want to do. And that's something we've talked about. That's something I want to do, create apps that work to work in my storytelling, creativity aspect and things like that. And also people in workplaces that may be in situations where it's like, hey, what I do in my job might be taken by AI in some sense. So with that in mind, like, are there any courses, classes, or other forms of learning that specifically helped you do what you do? And in this case, as a software engineer, creating actual apps and things like that. So what are some of the things that you think people should learn if they want to specifically make AI modules or apps for models for particular projects? What's the software background basics that you think are positive to get into like vibe coding in specific?
Okay. Well, first of all, what I would do is examine the market for the types of jobs that you can get. So in software engineering, there's going to be .NET job positions. There's going to be React positions, Vue, just a multitude of different front end and back end technologies. And, pick a couple, and then I use Udemy almost exclusively to find courses and stuff. So I might pick up a React course or a Node course or .NET course, and you want to take these courses because you want to understand the architecture. You want to understand what your capabilities are. You want to understand best practices. So you can't just not know anything about coding and go,
Mhm.
well, you might be able to, I don't know. You could probably go to AI and say, hey, I want to build a website, I want it to do this, this, and this. It might be able to work you through it without you knowing anything about it at all.
Yeah, it's a very
Um,
simple website, but then like the hallucinations, you won't be able to pick them out in time. Like, so
yeah.
yeah, what are the good basics
Yeah,
to
so
learn?
I mean, if you're going at it with no experience or understanding at all, you won't know how to debug your application. For instance, you'll get something from AI, and I get it a lot. AI produces something, it doesn't work. All right, well, that's not working. That's not working. What do I do next? And instead of asking AI, every iteration of your code, if you understand enough of what you're doing, you can fix it yourself. You don't have to rely on the AI to go through it and iterate through your code multiple times to get your working result. Um, but yeah, like Udemy is like godsend. The problem with Udemy is if you don't know how the structure works, you'll go on Udemy and a course for React might be $189. But if you wait and just keep on looking at the site every few days, you'll hit a spot where they have a promo where it's $9.99,
Mhm.
$9.99. So so if you understand that happens very frequently, then you're not going to overspend for a course. And you can find YouTube if you don't want to pay anything at all. You can find YouTube examples and stuff, um, just to get your brain functioning in the way it needs to work.
Yeah.
um, but like, yeah, when my business as usual project, I wanted to go full bore end to end as a software developer in the field working. I want the documentation. I want the markdown README files and all that stuff. a specific architecture. I'm going web, Android, and iOS. So I want it all to look and feel the same. So I need
Mhm.
to use particular front end and back end technology to do that. So, um, and I also want to cover as many bases as possible. So for my web application, I want it to be strictly .NET. I have an admin site, I have a client facing site, and the admin site, I want to use MVC, and the client side, I want to use Blazor server. I want to follow MVC, Blazor, and I want to use clean architecture and all these things, and microservices, multi-services, Dockerized containers, all that stuff. So like
Yeah.
my project will say, you want X, Y, Z. As a software developer, I've done all of it.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, I want a product that I can show that I fully understand all of it. Web, Android, iOS, it doesn't matter. I can do it all. So if I send you links to my profiles, my old profile, the seedruckman.com, it's
Yeah.
hokey pokey, more the best feature of that website is your dragon and my 3D renderer, you
Okay.
know. But my linear descent website, on the seedruckman.com, I didn't use any AI at all. I was learning React and I wanted to use it in a real example. So I built that portfolio project. And then after I started playing around with AI, I wanted to use AI a lot and understand the process of vibe coding. So you're feeding AI what you want it to do iteratively. So
Yeah.
I wanted to get that feel, and I wanted it to be a more of a showcase of my work other than just a hokey pokey site like cbarking.com.
Okay.
My portfolio project on Linear Descent, it has my resume. So does Steve Ruckman was it's junk. But my Linear Descent resume, has a print feature. It's well orchestrated. And I have a project section. It defines like, what I did, the hurdles I faced, all the challenges and everything. And then it has screenshots at the bottom so you can look and see what it looks like. Because I want recruiters and hiring managers and stuff like that to be able to get that portfolio and just look at everything without having to, log into my business as usual website or whatever, for example. I did have my books on there, but my friend said take those off there because if you're trying to get a job, they're going to see your books and they're going to hire you.
Yeah.
So, so,
So that's the kind of
but
thing like to show your work. That's like show you need to find a way how to show that the human aspect of the AI. So you need to
right.
be able to like convince somebody that, oh, it's not just all done by AI, but this is why you need me to interface best with this AI. So now
Mhm.
with that process of you picking that up, I'm sure if you started just today with the knowledge that you have to do what you did, you jumped some steps. So what are some of the things that you missed looking back at your process of learning how to use it? What are some of the things you missed earlier that you should have seen that you would suggest to people, software engineers or other people who are starting to vibe code or starting to build projects? What are some things that you think early on would help you make certain leaps, if that makes
Okay.
sense?
So, you kind of want to have a clear picture of what the end result's going to be.
Mhm.
Like I was talking about the architecture and stuff, you know, you kind of want to feed that in there early. I want to use microservices. I want to have MVC or Blazor. I want to have all these nuts and bolts, and you package that up and you give it to AI. And as long as it's not hallucinating, it'll follow that structure. I mean, you'll have to reinforce it, but knowing what you want to do is the huge part of it because it'll just randomly spit out whatever it wants if you don't tell it what you want. You know what I mean? So that's why I recommend having the courses behind you before you start. Um,
So this is
I don't
specific.
really.
Okay, now is there a specific programming language that helps, or is it just depending on you test out different ones? Or what's
Uh, you can kind of say there's probably specific architectures and languages that you want to use to do certain things. So, my business as usual. I probably wouldn't want to do that with React and Node because it'd be ugly fast. You know, React, in my opinion, is better suited for smaller projects. So my portfolio project, yeah, I can use React and Node. For enterprise software as a service application that's large and it's enormous. So I don't want to have a bunch of Node files and a bunch of React files. You know what I mean? So um, yeah, you kind of like you want to weigh it. And what I would suggest for like a beginner is
Mhm.
go with React and Node because people want the newer front end libraries like React, Vue, and Angular and stuff like that. Um, but even before you jump into that, you want to understand JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. So everything builds on top of each other. And then when you jump into .NET, you're going to find a lot more companies want someone with those skill sets. They want enterprise solutions. They're going to go .NET. So um, just be aware of what people are hiring for. Kind of get like if you go on LinkedIn and look for software engineer jobs, and it'll just shoot down like a whole list of them. This is .NET, this is .NET, this is React, this is PHP, you know. So
This is speaking of LinkedIn, though, you mentioned that. I just heard that now there's like businesses who will use an AI to create LinkedIn job applications, and the people
yeah,
are creating job like resumes on LinkedIn, and then you send that resume in, and the company receives it, and it has an AI cutting down like 95% of the AI generated resumes that come in
yeah.
are booted out before you even get to like one human. So there's kind of this stuff where it's like this is not AI slop, but this AI junk, like junk AI content being created where it's just like there's a dead internet theory where it's like majority of the internet is websites that are dead or like social media accounts that are shut down. People pass away, have a blog, and they just don't have it anymore. But now it's like that has been just multiplied by just AI just generating things in there.
And I don't know if it's built in, but I've heard about an AI robot that'll just sit there and automatically apply for jobs for you, send
Yeah,
cover
that's what I'm
letters,
saying.
and
It's like,
yeah.
and it's answering AI generated job listings with like it's just like a back and forth of AI talking to AI. It's an interesting situation
I'm,
they have
I'm
going
I'm looking for a welding position, and all of a sudden I'm getting calls from McDonald's. You know,
on.
hey, it
Yeah.
looks like you applied for. So
Yeah,
little
there's that kind of
hallucination
stuff
there.
going on.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so the next question, this is probably the most important question here. That it's do you like cheese? And if yes, which ones and why? And if no, why are you such a horrible person? Unless you're lactose intolerant, then still you should have some favorite cheese. But go ahead. Do you like cheese and which
I
ones? Tell us
I
about
love
cheese.
cheese, and I it's hard to pick a favorite one, but I would
Pick a
say
few.
pepper
Doesn't have to
jack.
be the top one.
Pepper jack is probably like my favorite, because I like almost like the I don't know if you ever heard of them. Let me see
Yeah,
if I can
like
remember the name of them. Dagwood sandwiches. A
yeah, I remember
Dagwood
that
with
Dagwood
a
sandwiches.
Dagwood with pepper jack. Oh yeah.
They have Colby Jack here. There's some good local Colby Jack that's made here. Is Colby Jack, is Pepper Jack just different? Is this Colby Jack just with pepper put in, or is it like a separate thing?
I don't know, but it sounds like that could be the case.
Yeah.
Uh,
Have you had halloumi?
what isn't?
Halloumi?
Hmm.
Definitely try it. Like Halloumi. It's like this harder cheese, and you can like grill it because it doesn't like melt. So you can grill it, you can fry it, and like it keeps its like consistency. So you can get some nice like marbling on it and whatnot. You can have like a crispy steak of halloumi. So definitely, most definitely try that. I first found it like back like 10 years ago. Somebody suggested it to me, and it's been amazing. I've had it fried, grilled, baked, all sorts of different ways with a halloumi. But it's like cheese is an amazing, amazing thing.
Fried cheese sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But a different one I had was visiting one of my friends, and we went to the restaurant, and there was like a deep fried brie. What's it camembert? It was one of those really soft cheeses, but they put like a crusting on it, and like they deep
Mhm.
fried it, so like it had that crunchy crust. But no, but this one it's like different. It's halloumi cheese, so it kind of has the consistency of like like a paneer. It's like I don't know how to explain it, but it's like it's more solid. But then like yeah, when you melt it, when you fry it, it's excellent. Definitely check that out. Okay,
Well, I'm the
so
kind of person who'll try anything once.
yeah, I'm sure you can find
So,
it. Definitely check it out. There's also like websites that deliver cheese. I need to find some
mm.
cheese.com like sponsorship on the series because this is one of the questions that all the
There
time. But okay.
that's a vibe coding project for you. You can make your own cheese site.
Yeah. All right. So anything else about what you do, like um the difference that you had like experiences in the software engineering versus what you're going in now, that whole learn the code thing, that's interesting. People were like, oh, learn the code for some time when people were losing their jobs in manufacturing. But that's coming back in some extent. And I think there's going to be some needs from manufacturing. Some of the things that hopefully, if you have higher levels of productivity and generation of new industries and things like that, even if it's more leisure stuff, there's going to be more reasons to actually have things. Or even if you're just at home, having more free time to build things on your own. So I think using your hands is good to come as a positive thing. So the people who were telling people off who use their hands and didn't have ways to do it, and kind of some of those people are losing jobs, and that's what we'll be talking about in the series about art, creativity, and AI, because a lot of writers are losing their jobs, a lot of artists are losing their jobs, a lot of the people in the newspapers and the news who were like, "You need to learn the code and stop complaining about jobs going away." Are now being taken out because some of the stuff they're doing was so formulaic that
Yeah.
now like AI can just go through like the 500,000 articles these people have generated and pop out the same thing with the same keywords and the same topics and the same messaging. But
One of the things that I'm doing is you can go to AI and say, hey, build me a function that, processes orders, displays, you know, the items ordered, generate an invoice and all this stuff. And you can just copy and paste that and just be done. If it works, you're done. You don't have to worry about anything. What I'm doing is that I'll do that. I'll say, build me that code, and then I'll hand code it. I'll understand what I'm doing instead of just copy and pasting. I'm typing it out. I'm understanding. Okay, well, I'm using this model that has these fields, and I'm plugging that into this loop that automatically builds my order items and stuff like. So I understand the code itself. So if I have a problem with it in the future, I can say, "Oh yeah, I remember this file has that code. It does this." And,
yeah,
so understand what you're doing instead of just having it do all the work for you.
so
I think that's
learn the
beneficial.
code by using the AI to code.
Yeah.
Teach yourself to code more, then you'll be able to prompt the AI in a
Right.
better way, understand the shortcuts and things like that, right?
Yeah. So understand,
Uh,
understand. You're learning by example, basically. What I'd say.
and there was a story when we had a conversation some weeks ago. You told me about a story about like AI back in or some large language models back in the day. I don't
What
know
was
if you
that?
remember that story. Let me see if I can scroll back up and get that story. I might retell it here. Let me see. I'm trying to like not have to be dead air here. Okay, so something came up with AI, and you said it wasn't the first time you dealt with it, and you had dealt with some sort of technology back, and then you saw something happening that was kind of similar to what was happening to AI. I'm just trying to scroll back here as I try to get the
Uh,
thing. This computer processing ability. No, 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 no. Dead air, dead air, dead air. I don't know if you can find it. We should get in another conversation. Yeah, okay, you can acquire emotional behavior. I don't know because like we had first initially talked done the thing and then we got back in touch recently and then we end up talking and we were talking about like creating like collaborative story where there's input that generates story points. So some of the ideas that he has on the more creative artistic aspect are things that Christopher and I will probably be working on some things together. So this was saying you were telling me about it's software related, but we're cutting edge technology to us back 10%. It was like something you're talking about. MVC, for instance, was developed in 1970. So what was MVC? Do you remember that story you were telling me about that?
MVC is a model view. I don't know if that's your question. MVC is model view controller. So
Yeah.
models are your data objects, and views are your UI, and controllers is your actions. So you have a controller says, package this data and then send me to this view with that data. Um,
Mhm.
that was developed in 1970s.
Yeah.
around that period. A lot of the stuff that we're playing with, is developed very early on. Um, so I think AI, we didn't have access to it, but someone did, back then. This isn't, 2020, you know, technology that we're playing
Yeah.
with, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just fascinating when you find out, oh, well, we had the World Wide Web in the 70s or whatever
Mhm.
it came out, but it's only for the government, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, oh, we could probably make money. I don't know what the deciding factor was. But, oh, we can give this to the public and we can go hog wild and little. So yeah, like I don't know where I want to go with this conversation, but I used AI to take a paragraph that I wrote about a game concept,
Mhm.
and it shot out like 40 or 50 pages of how this game's going to play out, the types of characters you'll have, the types of enemies, types of artifacts that you can collect, and stuff like it was insane. And that was when AI first became embedded like in the browser. I think it was on the browser before as a desktop application, Copilot.
Yeah.
And I just said I want a game that has um, furries on. Do you know what a furry is? Like
Yeah.
a anthropomorphic character. I want
Yeah.
aliens. I want like orcs. I want humans. I want all of it. I want all these things. I want it all tied together. You know, and it just shot out some crazy, fantastic stuff. I'm like, wow, aliens are chasing down this matter that can make um, animals into humans and stuff like that. So chasing
Yeah.
this stuff around the universe, and you know,
Yeah. And
uh,
that's an interesting thing with AI because I've consumed so much manga, anime, video games and stuff, movies, series, and I have a way of now distilling that and trying to make my own things out of it. But
uh,
now, if AI can, like my whole idea that projects that we'll get into, and we'll be talking about more as we have different conversations about this, is like how can I use AI to help to feed it in the ideas that I have and come up with, and then have it build something off of that, where it's like it's learning from the way that I've and connecting dots that I'm because even I forget sometimes. I forget like some idea I wrote down. Like I have all these sketchbooks all over the place where I just have all these notes and stuff. It could be like a part of an idea that I had like 5 years ago that would be key to connect two separate ideas I have now. But like I've forgotten, I haven't gone back into the sketchbook. But if I had that system in there that learns off of what I'm doing, I feel that's not necessarily a thing where I feel like it's stealing from somebody else. Whereas someone can say, okay, if you did what you did, some people might have more of an objection with that. But then if it gives you an outline, and then from that outline, you have the freedom and the time to actually build up from there. And then now, so these are the discussions that we'll be having in the longer conversation that we have about this. The cost benefit analysis that we're going to be making, the trade offs of like how how much is it how much are people willing to take a stand on AI and be like, I'm not going to interact with any content whatsoever if there's an iota of AI being used. Like the Larian Studios, the guys who did Baldur's Gate and they do Destiny, they were hired to do Baldur's Gate 3, which is an amazing success. And then now they're going back to doing their Destiny series. And the head of them was talking about that he uses some AI for like placeholders. So it's like somebody thinks of an idea and then they just create like a placeholder to like build around it. And then they come back and people are like flipping out like, oh my God, you can't do this. So it's like, I don't think the end user is really going to care that much. It's going to be more the people in the industry working that. So we will have conversations as creators looking to utilize AI in a way that's like moral, ethical. We have questions, we have different benefits. So that's something I think. Thanks, Christopher, for definitely coming in with this and starting this off as part of a long conversation series about these topics. Yeah.
if you want a conversation starter, I have like 3 or 4 pages of a chapter of a sci-fi novel that I'm planning to write. And what I want to do is play with AI with that concept and say, okay, well, this is 3 or 4 pages that I have, and it's a tiny story piece all in itself, it's encapsulated. Give me 10 or 15 pages with more dialogue, more instances of action and stuff like that. and see what it can do. You know what I mean? So I'm coming up with the framework and have it expand upon that idea. Don't
Yeah.
change it, just add to it. You know what I mean?
We'll have my friend Edward. He was on this series as a ghostwriter, so he definitely said he'll come on for the conversations. And we're talking about writing. That will definitely be one. Because even for me, I'm currently going back through like this 65-page treatment of like a three-part story based off like Powerpuff Girls that I wrote like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And I'm finally like getting back in because like I did like back in high school, I did a drawing of the Powerpuff Girls in my own style. Then like I did it further like a few years later. Then in college, I did like another one and then back in over 10 years ago, I was posting it on my Behance. I was like, okay, let me actually push these designs further. And I started thinking of like a story to go along with the designs. And I did this treatment that's like 65 pages going back through. So I finally decided, let me actually change the character names because of the copyright questions. And like I remember there was a time the Powerpuff, they were trying to do a Powerpuff movie series, and then it fell through. I guess they started filming, but it fell through for whatever reason, like in WB or CW or something. But anyway, so this is now I'm like going back in. If you know like the top 10 universe, it's like was it Image Comics top 10 and like Authority. Frank Quietly, I think was Authority, where it's like you can tell it's kind of based off of like the Justice League of America, but like the characters are different. Like Midnighter was based off of Batman. Apollo was based off of Superman. The lamp. Sometimes there was a guy who was like also like the boys. Kind of, it's like you can tell like Midnighter is no, not Midnighter. Black Noir is like the Batman-ish kind of character. Like Superman is kind of what's his name? I'm forgetting his name. The main guy with the anyway. So it's kind of loosely based off of that, but with that 65-page treatment, going back in and being like, okay, can I take all the references of based off of this and change it enough where it's not copyright kind of things?
Right.
There's going to be people doing things like that where I want to find a way to have my stuff just be like more like open source so you can not have to worry too much about that. Okay, so let's break into the last three questions just to wind this down. The first one is, do you have any questions for me based off of this topic or the things that we've discussed? Like, if you don't have
Got
them now, you
mail.
can. So yeah,
I got mail. Um, yeah, I mean, do you see like group discussions like we're having now, like where there's like 5 or 6 people on a call or whatever, um, and
yeah,
similar topics of creativity?
most definitely. There's one I've already had set up. I just posted a blog post today and rantathon.wordpress.com. I need to actually get the domain and switch it over. I've posted like 1,800 and something days in a row. So with that one, it's like today I just posted something with somebody. I saw a post on Facebook of somebody posting in a portraiture group, and they had AI generate an image of a woman, and then they did the oil painting off of the AI generated image. And then the gallery they wanted to submit it to said, you can't, like, first of all, portraiture is not that big of a sale. And I kind of understand that because portraiture is normally a rather personal thing. Like, the chances of you just going and buying a portrait image of like some random contemporary woman that you don't know is low. Like if it's like the Mona Lisa or the girl with the pearl necklace, that's something else. So it's like a different style. So, and they also had the AI situation. So he was kind of just asking like the portraiture group about a simple question. That could be one of the first topics that we have in this conversation of, is that still considered art? Like, what's the difference between me? Like, let's say I don't have access. I'm living in a monastery somewhere, and I don't have
Mhm.
access. And the monastery is some mountain somewhere, but I really want to do like a beach painting or a drawing of a beach. If I have AI generate the image of the beach in the right angle that I want, the right lighting, and then I do a painting off of that, why is that less artistic than me sending out pen pals and making sure there's somebody on this specific kind of beach with this specific kind of conditions and having them eventually send a photograph of that location in to me where I can do that painting off of a physical photograph that somebody took. Like, where does the lack of art come in? So those are some of the questions that I think we'll be talking about. And for this series and the What is Art series, I think it will be more like we can have like weekly or bi-weekly stuff where ahead of time I'll have the topic and then I'll announce it, and then anybody who has the time to join in on that conversation will join in, and then we'll just post those. So that's kind of the system I have of that.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only question I really have.
Okay, next question. Do you have any questions for anyone else who might be participating in the I Know Great People series in specific, like with this one?
Are there any
Okay.
people that are looking to collaborate on a project? Like you have your comic strips behind you. Would you want to have like some kind of small application that maybe makes like say you want to do an animation from stills, something that basically acts like a flip book, kind of small projects like that. I don't know. Um, but like I have the coding behind me, someone with an art skill, probably design something useful. I don't know.
All
So
right.
I don't
Contact
know if
info
there's
will be there.
so are there people that want to collab? Are there people who are looking for collaborators basically?
Okay, cool. Most definitely. I'll also add you to this other project I'm doing here locally, like 1 million thriving artists, which is our aim is to get like 1 million artists thriving in the African continent, but that involves getting in touch with other people. So there might be trainings and things. In fact, you can meet with people locally here as well and get that up and going. And the last one is, would you like to take one random question or requested questions? Now, this in this one kind of system is, I have like a thing here. Like, 1 second, let me grab them. Okay, so with this one in this system, like you'll also after this, I want you to, if you can think of a question to just submit for this. So if I'm interviewing somebody else in another I Know Great People series, there'll be a database of random questions that have been submitted by people who have participated. Well, if you pick a random one, I'll just pick one out of there and ask the person just to add some things. Or I also have these hypotheticals where you can pick a hypothetical, which is kind of just to start like conversations, or you pick one and then I read it out and we both kind of think about it, and then we might come back and just record like a 5 minute one of our answers to it. Or if there might be a situation where since you've been on here and you've talked about this, we had the other conversations. People who are watching, if there's something Christopher has said or you think Christopher might be able to answer, then send those questions in and I'll pass them on to Christopher. Or the next time he's on, maybe he'll want a requested question. Like, are you also open to take? Like you said, are you open to taking questions from people who are watching and whatnot?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So for now, do you want to take one of these hypotheticals or what do we do?
Yeah, I'll take one.
Okay, so let's just shuffle through. Just pick this one. Okay, office politics. We're talking about workplace AI, so maybe it has some sort of interest to it. So with this one, I'll read the question and then we'll both think about it and then we'll probably record it. Or if you think that you have an answer immediately, you can go ahead and give the answer. I'll probably think about it a bit and come back. Okay, this question. You work in an office. Generally, you are popular with your coworkers. However, you discover that there are currently two rumors circulating the office gossip mill, and both involve you. First rumor is that you got drunk at the office holiday party and had sex with one of your married coworkers. This rumor is completely untrue, but most people don't believe it. The second rumor is that you have been stealing hundreds of dollars of office supplies and then selling them to cover gambling debt. This rumor is completely false, but virtually everyone assumes it's factual. Which of these two rumors is more troubling to you? So you can answer that
Probably.
now or think about it. You want to
Yeah,
answer it
I'll
now?
answer it now.
Okay.
Probably the stealing office supplies, that'll get you fired from your job. Having sex with a coworker might get you beat up, but I don't think it'll get you fired.
Well, I mean, I guess because yeah, this she's it's still like a willing participant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her
And
husband
because the
wasn't
stealing
willing,
is
but
like, yeah, I guess so. I guess in that situation, but then it's like the thing is, I wonder, like, with the kind of question I'm kind of thinking, like, how well liked would you be if, and this goes to some of the revelations we are seeing right now in current timeline with the release of he himself, Epstein who Epstein himself, kind of thing, where people are realizing, like, okay, how well do we know the people that we consider to be positive? Like, how many people who have been supposed good judges of character were not able to suss this guy out or knew, and we also think about that in our personal lives. So if we're considering this person was very popular, how are you very popular if people still think you're able to steal for gambling debts and and sleep with a married person? Like why would you still be popular if they think you're capable of that? That's kind of a weird thing, and but that's true. We consider people popular who still do kind of grimy, unethical, and
yeah.
kind of things too. So I don't know for myself. I understand your consideration with that. Huh, I don't know. I don't know where I'm at with
And
that.
some, I mean, like, okay, so is this this married person attractive? Maybe a certain group of,
Okay.
a
Attractive to
certain group of
you.
guys that you work with probably still consider you. Oh yeah, okay, you got with her, okay, that
Well,
raises the bar. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's
So
attractive enough for you to sleep with it. So yeah, that could be a thing. Yeah. All right.
yeah.
So I think it's a flip of a coin for me. But of course, yeah, if it's losing your job, and the other one, I think I would prefer the losing the job to be proven not true, because I'm kind of thinking the situation with the stealing, I would be able to, if I can prove that. But then if it's sleeping with a married person, I'd be able to approach the married person, and we'd hopefully be able to both go out there and tell people it's not happening. But the stealing might be harder to disprove. So I don't know, but I guess you could just show the actual stuff is going somewhere. Maybe somebody else is stealing, and it's harder to prove that you're not the one stealing. But it's easier for me to disprove the sleeping with somebody, because I could go to the person and be like, look, this rumor is going on. Let's go and squash this thing. Yeah. All right. So thanks a lot, Christopher, for this. And we'll be back on with more in this series about different conversations. If there's different specific topics you want to come on and speak about on this. But for now, that's pretty much it. We say goodbye to the peoples.
See you guys later.
Goodbye.